Oh man, she did what? Why is the government always lying? That's not your fault. That was your mother's job. I know it sucks. It's hard, but it's fair. If we don't get our heads out of our collective asses, we're gonna be lost in the sauce. You knew he was sorry when you met him at BHS. Come on, baby girl. What's the solution? Look, I know I'm fucked up.
Welcome to the Angry Nerd Podcast. My name is Arshawn Wade, aka the Angry Nerd. The Angry Nerd Podcast is taped in front of a live Facebook audience from my mom's basement. The Angry Nerd Podcast is brought to you in part by some bad life choices and a few shattered dreams. The Angry Nerd Podcast is made possible by money that my wife gives me from my SSI check, some chick named Joni, and proceeds from listeners like you. If you want to be one of the listeners that helps contribute to this show getting better and better each week, go to Cash App, drop a couple of twos and fews over there. My Cash App is $TheAngryNerd. And speaking of Cash App, I want to give a shout out to some of my contributors, people who have bought t-shirts. Their names are Cheryl W., William J., Dylan B., Santrice K., Shanoya B., my homeboy Danger. Shout out to my homeboy Danger, Janet H., Javier B., and Gina J. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is you guys buying t-shirts and just giving the guy a couple of bucks just because that keeps me being able to do what I do every week. Now, first things first, I want to jump off into a couple of things. There are two things I want to talk about. One is a book that I recently read, and I possibly should have read it sooner than now as a black person, but hey, I don't think I would have been able to appreciate this book had I read it 20 years ago. So I'm glad that I read it now in my 30s. Anyway, the name of the book is Their Eyes Were on God. Now, one of my Facebook friends had mentioned that she was rereading this book. And I knew of the author. I knew of the author, but I hadn't read any of her works. So I said, I'm going to check it out. Now, I won't say this Facebook friend's name because I think she's kind of hoity-toity and she may not want to be associated with a sketchy outfit like the Angry Nerd Podcast. Anyways, so I read the book, but I commute. I have like a 45-minute drive to work every morning, to and from work. So it's an hour and a half. So I do a lot of my reading on Audible. So go ahead, all you people who have enough time to actually read a book. Go ahead and shame me for reading my books on Audible. But anyways, so I finished the book today. And for those who are like myself, yes, that's the author, Miss Zora Neale Hurston. That's who wrote the book, Their Eyes Were on God. And it's one of her most known works. But one of the things and it's a story about it takes place like between the 1920s and the 1930s in southern Florida. And it's one of those good old down on the Delta black books of that era. I think it was written sometime in like the 30s, 1935, 37, something like that. But anyways, it's about a young lady named Janie who, I guess just living life. You know what I mean? It's just living life. And I was disturbed. I don't have the same feelings about the book that I think my Facebook friend had. And maybe it's because I'm a man, but I see things a little bit differently. Like for me, the story of Janie, like she meets her grandma wants her to marry. You know, back in those days, you had to have a man, baby. You got to get you a man. And grandma wants her to get a man. And she finds a guy, or grandma finds a guy, or whatever. He's a well-to-do guy. He's a man of industry. You know, he like moves into the little one-horse town, becomes the mayor, builds up this town with this wealth that he has from wherever he came from. And he basically makes her a trophy wife. Like they have a store. They are the It family. And she pretty much had everything that a woman of that day and age could have or could want for a, young colored woman in the 30s. But she was unhappy. She was unhappy, and she was just discontent. And sometime later on, this guy dies. He dies from, I don't know, fever and grief. And she meets another guy. Now, mind you, this guy was a baller. If we're going to use today's vernacular, if I'm allowed a tiny bit of poetic license, he was a baller. And he laced her. And he passed. So, of course, his money passed on to her. And she met a guy named T-Cake. Now, T-Cake, for me, represents the average dude today. You know what I mean? Didn't really have no money, kind of irresponsible, flying by the seat of his pants. And she was taken aback by T-Cake. She had to have him. And mind you, Janie at this point is 40-something, and I think T-Cake's like 28, 29, something like that. She's 11 or 12 years older than him. And her and T-Cake run off into the sunset, and they live this life until a hurricane comes and T-Cake gets sick. He gets bitten by a dog, and he gets, what do you call that stuff when you get bit by a crazy dog? Rabbit dog, rabies. I reckon he gets rabies. They don't specifically say that, but that's what it sounds like he had. And she ends up killing T-Cake, and going on back to her little life. And it seems triumphant. It seems like, she got to live the hoity-toity life, and she also got to live a life with true love. But she two things. One, she seems like a bad news individual. The 48 Laws of Power talks about those people who are just bad luck. And she seems like one of those kind of people. Like, two able-bodied men, after dealing with her for not too long, eventually met their demise. Not saying that it was her fault, but some people are just bad luck. And I think Janie was bad luck. And this also, for me, illustrates the same behavior that women from the low-income communities today exhibit. If a woman from the low-income community found herself in a position to be with a guy who was financially stable, who was well off in society, she wouldn't know how to deal. Janie had everything that a woman could want. But she wasn't happy until she got with T-Cake. And there's also a part in the story where T-Cake runs off with her money and goes and he's like, well, I ain't never had money like that before, and I just wanted to see what it felt like to have a good time. And he's like giving money away, throws a big party. And I'm like, and she took him back and accepted, his story. And it just didn't seem like a really good look for women. And I looked that was in the 30s. And we look 80 years later, 90 years later, and I see women exhibiting the same behavior that the character Janie exhibited in the book, Their Eyes Were on God. So I'm thinking that if that was a required reading, that may be one of the contributing factors to the toxic interactions that we have in relationships today with women from the low-income communities. All right, moving right along. Cardi B and WAP. Isn't it? I mean, you go from Zora Neale Hurston to Cardi B, and you really can, a straight line. You can make a straight line from Janie to Cardi B. Anyways, that's another topic. Cardi B and WAP. I'm not about to spend a lot of time on this. Do you really expect anything else from Cardi B? I see people are up in arms about WAP. And to maintain the sanctity of this show, I'm not going to say what WAP stands for. I'm going to let my adult listeners use their imagination and figure out what WAP stands for. But anyways, I don't expect Cardi B to like educate my daughter. I don't expect Cardi B to, I expect her as an ex-stripper, ex-setup artist to give me a song like WAP. I don't see why everybody is up in arms about it. I don't see why everybody's blown away about her and Meg Thee Stallion making a song like this. I don't. It's what they do. They represent bust down women and they make bust down music. Case closed. All right, moving right along. FBG Duck. I don't know what it is with these young rap guys these days and their names. I can't keep up with it. You got NBA Youngboy, NLE Choppa, who I thought was Emily Choppa. My son kept telling me listen to it, and I found out it's NLE Choppa. Anyways, so FBG Duck, unfortunately, was murdered over the weekend, this past week. And that's very unfortunate. I saw that, and the first thing that I thought was, wow, you know, here's a young, successful guy or a guy on the rise, because I hear he's very popular. I heard a few of his songs. It appears that based on the standard for today's rap music, he was doing well. He was on the path of success. Excuse me. And he was cut down. Now, something that I thought was horrible was the fact that guys that he had beef with were like being disrespectful. You know, like they were like, yeah, right on, F him. And I was like, now, mind you, I've been in the streets. I don't like to glorify that part of my life, but I've been all the way out there in the streets, all the way out there. And I've heard about people that I had problems with meeting their demise. And I don't think there was ever a time that I was happy about it or that I said, yeah, about time they got him or any. I don't ever remember feeling that way or thinking that way. So like these are our new breed of guys. It seems like you would think about that guy's mom, you would think about his family, and that's my initial thought. That's the angry nerd being a softie, thinking that things are like the old days. Come to find out, this guy wrote an entire song disrespecting dead ops. And now are these guys justified? Are these guys justified in disrespecting him post-mortem? Excuse me, posthumous? Is it posthumous? Posthumous. Are they justified in that? Because that's kind of his energy. That's what he put out there. That's what he put out into the universe. That's what he was about. If he was here today and somebody was doing that, he would probably be on board with that. So it's like, I think we need to kind of watch the energy that we put out there. We need to be careful about the energy that we put out there, because we have family members out here who are innocent bystanders who may in fact reap some of that negativity based on the negative seeds that we've sown. All right. Enough of that stuff. Main topic, the clickbait. Excuse me. Life after George Floyd. What are we doing? What are we doing? Life after George Floyd. And I wondered about that. I was sitting at work today and I was sitting in my office and I said, I haven't seen one post. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen a hashtag I can't breathe. I haven't seen a blackout Facebook picture. What are we doing after George Floyd? So I was curious, and like most people in today's day and age, I took to Google. What are we doing? And I found on the BBC does not mean what you think it means. People who have Pornhub accounts. It actually stands for British Broadcasting Corporation. Arshan, why would you be dealing with the British Broadcast Corporation? Well, from what I see, the BBC has some of the most unadulterated news. You know what I mean? Unbiased news, in my opinion. So that's why I turned to the BBC to see what they're talking about. And I found this article. It says, George Floyd, 10 things that have changed since his death. And I'm going to go through these 10 briefly. So the first thing that they have listed is global tributes and protests. Okay. I'm looking for something of substance. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking for. Something with, as people would say, with some legs. Number 2, statues being taken down. Okay. Maybe they're taking down statues. What do you call it? Confederate statues. If you really want to get all the way right down to it, you got to take down all of this stuff. You got if you really want, if that's what it means to you to make progress in the racial scope, you got to take down all this mess. You got to take down everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of it was put together in a time when black people were in chains, okay? Including the Constitution. All right, let's keep going here. Number 3, companies standing in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Because it affects the bottom line. Like, that doesn't really do anything for me. Companies like Nike and the NFL, Facebook and Twitter, and they're jumping on the bandwagon. It's good for business. That's why. Like, that doesn't do anything. Let's keep on rolling because I don't want to spend a bunch of time on this. Police officers being charged. Well, they had to be charged because all 350 million Americans saw these guys murder this dude. So, of course, they had to be charged. That doesn't really do anything for me. We're talking about what are we doing after George Floyd. Number 5, police departments are making changes. Are they really? Or are they giving lip service? Are they really making changes? Are they changing policy? Let's see what some of the things that they've changed. Minneapolis City Council forced police department to ban chokeholds and neck restraints. Oh, okay, cool. Whatever. Unannounced police raids known as no-knock warrants have been scrapped in Louisville, where Breonna Taylor died. Of course, Breonna Taylor was the young lady who was shot 8 times while she was in the bed. Okay, let's keep on moving. Number 6, donating to charities and bailing out protesters. You arrested a protester before you arrested a murderer? Wait a minute. We're bonding out protesters, but cops that kill innocent United States citizens, unarmed United States citizens, aren't being arrested. Okay, cool. Number 7, you're a racist. People are telling their story. People are speaking out. Pish tosh. We've been doing that for years. It's about to get good. Don't worry about it after I breeze through this. Blackout Tuesday. Everybody put a all black Facebook picture. More bull crap. More bull crap. Number 9, street names changed. The street leading up to the White House has been changed to Black Lives Matter Plaza. So, number 10, programs taken off streaming platforms. Programs that have used blackface and sketchy racial material, even in the comedy realm, have been taken off of Netflix and Hulu. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, that's what we accomplished. If I'm George Floyd, I'm going to be pissed off that this is all we got. That's what we got. After I was murdered in front of all 350 million of you people, that's what we got. We get street names changed. We get protesters bailed out. It's nothing. It's nothing. And my entire rant right after the George Floyd thing was, let's not lose steam like we did when Malcolm died. Let's not lose steam like we did when Martin died. That's what we did. We raise up these voices. We raise up the Most High raises these people up among us to challenge this wicked system, this wicked government. And what do? They die, the movement dies. 3 days, 4 days, a week, a month. You look on Facebook, we're back twerking. You get on Instagram, we back twerking. We back spreading money across our arm. We're back holding up stacks of money to our ear. Can you hear the paper? What are we doing? We're back making videos like WAP. For about 3 weeks, all the music was good. I started learning some of these young rappers' names. Little Baby. Beautiful song. Back to money and bitches. That's what we're back to. We're back to the garbage. We're back to degrading one another. We're back to shaming each other. This hasn't been very long ago. May 25th. Now I'm a little middle learning. June, July, 3 months. Less than 3 months. Less than 3 months ago, we were all up in arms about George Floyd. As if we were really going to be about that life. I'm old enough to remember people talking trash about Reverend Jesse Jackson. I remember at one point in time, Jesse Jackson was gonna run for president. And he received death threats, so on and so forth. Backed out of it. And you want to know what was one of the things that stuck out to me from Black History Month when I was a kid? Was that picture of Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the balcony, shot dead. If you pay attention, one of the brothers on that balcony was a young Jesse Jackson. And you want to know what Jesse saw? After Martin was gunned down, he watched everybody walk back to Birmingham. You think, if I'm Jesse Jackson, do you think I'm going to put my family and my life in jeopardy for a bunch of people who are just going to walk away after we're snuffed out? I say no. When people say, what do you do? Let me tell you what needs to be done. Because so many people won't say it. If voting worked, one, it would be illegal. Two, voting don't change anything. Bullets do. If you're not willing to lock up in this country, ain't nothing gonna happen. And I'm so tired of people marching. Okay, that's a symbol. All the 10 things that they say that we have gotten after George Floyd, just symbols. Hey, we changed the street name, guys. Hey, guys, look, we're speaking out against it. We're gonna retrain cops. We'll start arresting cops. Meanwhile, we haven't arrested any of the other cops that have killed unarmed United States citizens in this country. We haven't arrested any of them. But we're going to. I promise, we ain't gonna stand for this. Nike, hey, we can't afford to lose all the black people buying Air Maxes. You know, brothers is gonna buy them Air Maxes. So we gotta stand with them. Hey, Black Lives Matter. Nikes do too. Nothing is going to change. Do you think that the pilgrims, I like to call them the invaders, do you think that the invaders came over here and asked the Native Americans for this country? No, they loped up and they took something. And until people from the low-income communities band together, until we begin to band together and overthrow these folks, nothing's gonna change. They're going to get up there in front of the masses and they're going to tap dance and they're going to soft shoe and they're going to do all of that. As long as we're not talking about coming up there busting heads, why do you think that it's always an assault on bearing arms? Now, I know some of my African-American counterparts would say, hey, they lock us up to take our rights away, but I've been to jail. I've done jail. There's just as many white guys in there as it is black guys. It's about economics. Poor people. Poor people. They want to take the rights to bear arms away from poor people. If you're poor, I don't care if you got blonde hair and blue eyes, go in that courthouse, they're going to send your ass to jail. They're going to put a felony on you because they do not want the poor people to be able to defend themselves. They what? You look at the old videos. They'll run right up on Martin Luther King, sock him upside the head. They'll kick his people, snatch on him. I have never seen footage of any of, I'm not a Muslim, but I have never seen footage of people from the Nation of Islam getting their head busted, getting water hoses put on them, getting snatched down in the street because they believed in busting heads. You didn't see videos like that of the Black Panthers in their heyday getting beat up and snatched and thrown down in the street. You saw videos of them with their berets on and their strap. And they came out there and they wanted to have a conversation with those guys. The African proverb says, those that are whipped the easiest get whipped the most. So until we decide that we, the people, if you don't make $300,000-$400,000 a year, you're not wealthy. You're just not. If you make under $250,000 a year, let me tell you, I don't talk money business, my money business, but I found myself to be in what I thought, coming from the low income community, I thought I was in a certain tax bracket and I'm doing good in life. They only gonna let you do so good. They will raise those taxes and then you will see more and more money come out of your check and go to those people. You're only gonna take home a certain amount of that money. And at the end of the year, they're probably gonna want you to give them another $4,000 or $5,000. I had to do that. And I was like, where am I gonna get this money from? Where am I gonna get it? It's all a game. And as long as we play by their rules, they don't play by the rules. Do you want to know what this country is? This country is a giant game of Monopoly, except they have already divvied up all the property. They've already pulled all the get out of jail free cards and all of the bank error in your favor cards out of the deck. And we are those little mofos who didn't get a chance to go one time, and we can't buy anything. So all we do is pay rent, pay income tax. Oh, please let us land on free parking. Maybe y'all got that house rule like us. You put $500 under free parking. Please let me land on free parking. They have all the cards. They got all the houses, all the motels. And we are those little foolish dudes who didn't buy any property or didn't get an opportunity to buy any property. Now all the property is gone, and all we can do is keep rolling the dice and keep paying rent as we land on other people's property until we're out of the game. That's the way this country is set up. Everybody is in servitude to their quality of living, rent, car payment, insurance, health benefit, all that stuff. We are slaves to that. That's the part of the game that nobody wants to tell you about. Is to fully unplug from this system means discomfort. Means that you might have to pitch a tent out in the woods and really live off of the land. Because that's the first thing that they are going to do if we decide to have a ball sack, a collective ball sack. If we decide to acquire that and stand on it, It will be a battle of economics. The first thing they're going to do is snatch government funding. They're going to snatch government funding. They're going to snatch money out of this, money out of that. It will be a war of attrition. And I will tell you, the weapon will be economics. We don't own anything. All these rappers, all these ball players, they are just high-end consumers. The real name of the game is resources. Who owns the water company? Who owns the light company? What did they study in school to where they own the water? They own the lights. I know there's somebody trying to figure out how they can harness the air and we have to pay an air bill later on in the game. All right, you only got about 30 deep breaths left, man. You got to pay your oxygen bill. It's getting that bad. It's getting that bad. And people don't want to talk about it. And anyone that does, they try to silence. Do you know that they took the Honorable Louis Farrakhan off of social media? They took him off of social media. They took his Twitter. They took his Facebook, YouTube. They took him off. They have silenced him. Look around. If you're on YouTube, I'm on YouTube. Do you know they have made it so difficult to monetize now? You use curse words, you can't monetize. It's all censorship. They have figured out a way to circumvent the laws, to circumvent the Constitution, freedom of speech. Okay, you can say what you want. You can curse. You can talk how you want to talk, but you can't monetize on YouTube. You can do all of that, but you can't make any money off of it. And then if you're somebody who is so big, whose voice is so powerful, whose information is so ironclad that he doesn't use curse words, they'll just take you off. And we should be fighting for people like that. That's somebody who we should be fighting for. And once again, I'm no Muslim. I don't get down with Islam or anything like that, but I will tell you that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has some of the best information for people from the low-income communities. He talks about not moving out of the hood, buying the hood, buying these vacant lots, starting a farm right here in the city, in the middle of the city. Start a community garden so that our kids can eat fresh fruits and vegetables. Start a community garden so our kids can learn how to cultivate and harvest fruits and vegetables so that they can learn how to live, truly live. That's the kind of information, like I said, I don't get all off into the Quran and everything like that. But when I hear good information, I don't care who's saying it. I don't care what he believes, what God he prays to, Allah or God or Buddha. He's talking about poor people really taking control of their lives, really putting themselves in a position to unplug. Because first you have to learn how to live off the land. And I want people to understand the institution of racism, pitting black against white. Rich people don't care about that. It's only poor people. As long as they can keep poor black people and poor white people down here bickering and arguing and fighting, we'll never come together. We'll never be able to truly stand and do something when something like what happened to the good brother George Floyd happens. A tragedy like that. When a tragedy like that happens, we will be in a position to do something. We will be able to hold these people accountable. Let me tell you videos that they don't like to show on Facebook. I've seen in other countries where the police have got down wrong and the citizens have jumped on the police. And there is something in this country, it's an unspoken rule that you don't do anything against the police. Even to the point that the police are beating you, the police are misusing their authority and their power, you still just lay there and take it. And in other countries, it's not like that. I don't care that you're a cop, you're a man and you're in the wrong. And they will go upside the cop's head. And we need to adopt that mindset and that mentality in this country. And we need to stop letting people who don't look like us, people who don't think like us, and people who do not come from our economic backgrounds make the rules for us. I have no idea why we want to see these perfect, well-spoken, well-educated people. Why do poor people identify so much with these people up here? Yeah, let's be honest. Most of us have no idea what those people are talking about when we watch one of these political debates, whenever we see them up there talking, when they come out to speak, with the exception of Donald Trump, because he's a rich dummy, he talks like us. Yeah, well, there were good people on both sides, so yeah, he's not a career politician. He doesn't know how to tap dance the way that the other guys do it. He's not as eloquent when it comes to BS and the masses as the rest of them are. But if we really want to affect some positive change for the people, it's time to mount up. I know a lot of people think, Arshawn, that sounds like you're inciting violence. I think they incited violence against us when they started the trend of killing unarmed American citizens. I think that, I don't know what oath they take, but they have to do something similar to like doctors with the Hippocratic Oath. Whatever it is whatever pledge they take, they have bastardized that. They have totally disrespected everything that badge is supposed to represent. Everything that flag is supposed to represent. Freedom and liberty. Everything that they were sworn in on. They have spat on that. And it has become a trend in this country, not to serve and protect, but to bust heads and smash on. That's what I see. And I've seen it for a long time in this country. I had a friend growing up, we used to skateboard together. And he was white and Indian. He was a little white kid. If you looked at him, you would just think he was white. He has to tell you he's Indian. But I digress. We used to skateboard together. And I remember when the cops would chase us, they chased both of us. They were looking to bust both of our heads. And it was situations like that taught me they don't care whether somebody's black or white. It's them versus us. I don't know what they tell them in their meetings. But they came to any neighborhood I've been in, I've never known anyone who's thought the cops was their friends. I've never known anyone. Church people, I've known plenty of church people. I've gone on plenty of church trips. Let a cop get behind us. The brother driving the van, oh Lord, the folks is behind us. We're in a church van. I don't know anyone who isn't afraid of the cops. And that's not how it should be. And we can blame the cops, but ultimately it's our fault for not banding together and deciding who is going to be in these positions, really deciding who's going to be in these positions. Because that voting job, that is the illusion of inclusion. That's not for us. Was it Mark Twain? I don't want to misquote. I think it was Mark Twain. If voting worked, it'd be illegal. Voting doesn't work. It's never worked. The Constitution is a farce. I talked about it last week. Me, Dylan, and Jim were talking about the Constitution last week. It's a farce. It is a dated, antiquated document that needs to be revised. We the people need to figure out a better way. We the people need to figure out what we need. We need to keep our own money. These taxes, it's all a scam. It's all a sham. And I think that the energy that was created when the good brother George Floyd lost his life, I think that that energy should be the impetus to us moving toward flipping the system upside down on its head. It doesn't need to be reformed. It needs to be torn down, and it needs to be put back together. We need to put new people in these positions. I have a particular issue with the pessimist who will say, Arshawn, that'll take too much time. No, it won't. It really won't. Get those people out of there, and let's get new people in there. That's all it takes. We can leave the same buildings up there. We don't need to fool around with all those politics. It's the same scam artists who have been running this country who run it now. Let's get these people out of there. It's time for us to stand up. Stop taking the bull crap. Let's stop taking the punches. And for my uber Christian brothers and sisters out there that turn the other cheek jive, that's well and fine. How about stop slapping me? And then I won't have to worry about turning no cheeks. How about we do something to make these fools stop slapping us? And until we're ready to do something like that, man, we may as well keep on twerking. We may as well keep on making songs about WAP. We may as well keep on making songs where we disrespect people who have recently passed. We may as well keep smoking loud pack. We may as well keep talking about our brothers and sisters behind their backs. We may as well continue to do all the debaucherous things that we've been doing after the energy from George Floyd fizzled out. We may as well go right back to that and stop even talking about it. It's a damn shame that it was just a trendy thing. It was just something to do. Change my Facebook picture to a black tag, Black Lives Matter. It was just a fad. It was just a passing, fleeting fad. And that is a damn shame. My name's Arshawn Wade, aka The Angry Nerd. Next week, we're going to have a show called Conversations with a Unicorn. And it's going to be where I have some of my brothers who have relationship issues, life issues, and I just do my best to give them some advice as men on what they should do in these particular situations. I don't have all the answers. I'm not entirely sure that I have any answers, but what I do have is a mouthpiece. And I'm going to speak what I feel. And I feel like this country has wronged its inhabitants for far too long. And I feel like we should all be angry about that. And we should all take it to them. And let the chips fall where they may. Thank you guys for listening. My name's Arshawn Wade, aka The Angry Nerd. Good night.